Hi, and welcome back. As promised before, this is our next customer session with LafargeHolcim. And before we get to the session, as always, we want to get your feedback and your insights into the topic. So we've prepared, as with all the other sessions, also a poll for this one. And the way, if you haven't done it before, the way to find this poll is if you look to the right of your screen, there is a box that has 4 menu items: chat, polls, people, and files. And if you click on polls, you should see 1 question and a vote button. So feel free to participate and share your insights with us. The question that we are asking this time is, what are the key ingredients to scale GRC across large organizations? You get multiple options here, including tone at the top, usability of the GRC solution, intuitive use, even for occasional users, keeping the GRC framework and responsibilities up to date across the organization, and think global, but allow for local special needs, or something else. So it's your choice. You can pick one or multiple of these. Tell us what you think. I see the first people are responding. We have currently an even race now, and now 2 are in the lead. So I give you a little bit more time to choose. So I see that keeping the framework and the responsibilities up to date and the usability of the solution come in on top, followed by the tone at the top on us at the second place. So I think that's interesting, and that's, I think, some of the challenges that also LafargeHolcim had to address, being a very large organization. So let's hear from them. LafargeHolcim is a Swiss multinational company that manufactures building companies. It has a presence in more than 70 countries and employs 70,000 employees approximately. And the companies Lafarge and Holcim merged a few years back in 2014, which adds another complexity to have one consistent GRC process across the organization. And Soni and Maxim will share with us how this large organization automated its internal controls management process. They will share the challenges they faced, such as the number of organizations that are spread globally with thousands of controls, user training, and the need to localize controls while keeping the reference to a central framework. And they will share how they address the top 3 functional GRC automation priorities: how to keep the framework and responsibilities up to date, how to establish reporting, and the key elements for GRC usability. Without further ado, let me introduce our 2 speakers. So first of all, we're very grateful to have somebody from LafargeHolcim, Siddharth Soni. He is the Group Internal Control Director and is an experienced governance risk compliance professional with over 24 years of experience across diverse sectors, including cement, banking and finance, professional services, government, manufacturing, oil and gas, telecom, and retail. He has successfully built expertise in the areas of internal controls and IT audits, bringing an in-depth know-how on how to build, manage, and align assurance programs encompassing compliance, internal control, and audit. His credentials include a degree from the top business school programs, the International Institute for Management Development, the IMD, in Lausanne, Switzerland, and he's also a certified internal auditor and certified information systems auditor. He also holds a COVID-5 certification from ISACA. The second presenter today is Maxim Chuprunov. He's the CEO and principal consultant for SAP GRC at Riscomp. Maxim is a certified CPA, CISA, and holds a CRISC certification. He is the founder and CEO of Riscomp GmbH and also the author of several books on SAP GRC and SAP compliance topics. He and his team have been very much focused on the development of add-ons, implementation, and continuous improvement of SAP GRC solutions for more than 12 years now. So with that introduction, we're very curious to hear more. Siddharth, Soni, Maxim, it's all yours.
Thank you, Michael. Let me start with my screen share. Thanks for the introduction. Like Michael introduced, we started this journey afresh again since the integration of LafargeHolcim, which began in 2015. Took a couple of years for us to get there where we are. And of course, we are constantly going through our journey and challenges. I'll walk you through our experience. And of course, then we come to some challenges and how we are finding solutions for this. And I'll be happy to have questions at the end of the presentation. Talking of LafargeHolcim, Michael has done the introduction. I won't spend much time again with this. As a global leader, I would like to bring your attention that we take it as our ambition and responsibility to work towards a greener world. So while we strive to, excel in our performance, growth, etc., the drive is more to have a sustainable world, and as a leader, build solutions supporting our vision and ambition. Quickly to highlight, the topic linked to this ambition, we have about 170 patents for our products, and more than 40% of these relate to low carbon emission products that we are introducing in the market. So that helps us, have this leadership position in a very competitive commodity market for cement. Internal control at LafargeHolcim, we strongly believe in tone at the top. So we have our different stakeholders, and when we design this new framework, what we call the minimum control standards, the CFO expects that this should lead to simplification and performance as part of our strategy. So it's not a tick in the box exercise. We just comply with Swiss Code of Obligation. That's not the expectation from minimum control standards at LafargeHolcim. Leading this to another key stakeholder, the region finance director for us, he expects they have to be clear and concise so they can be implemented in the way they're expected. It should not be seen as, a very problematic or an overhead that then discourages people from embracing the, internal control framework and thus apply them in day-to-day processes. So different stakeholders, different expectations. We try to meet them all. Taking our journey forward, some key highlights. We see internal control framework as a capstone of our corporate governance. So it's all built in there. So our internal control framework doesn't just talk about, typical finance control or inventory control. It encompasses corporate governance. It encompasses even sustainability, which is our vision and ambition that we build product and solutions which are greener to the market. So it's an overarching principle set aside, and then the compliance to this is minimum and mandatory for everybody. That this is least we expect from our businesses to fulfill, and of course we make it mandatory across our operations globally. We have been constantly adapting our framework to meet with the changing business requirement and business focus to make it relevant in the current context and not just leave it as a tick in the box exercise. Of course, when we do this, it has visibility at the highest level. It is represented at the Ethics, Risk, Integrity Committee, which is chaired by the Group CFO, along with the other EXCO members, Executive Committee members of the group, where they see the results coming in from the internal control assessments. We first rolled out SAP GRC to support this strong implementation in 2017. Followed by the merger years, and this initially led with the integration of the framework coming from two different large companies, Lafarge and Holcim, and then a unified platform to start implement this in a sustainable way. We always keep our engagement with the stakeholders to make it relevant, so we understand their expectations, what do they expect, and then accordingly be able to deliver this. And also engage with our peers. And this conferences like these are an excellent opportunity for us to hear and exchange our views with other participants, and also hear other presenters, how they're doing, how did they fare, to constantly improve. Talking about the three dimensions, people, process, and technology related to internal control, how we are organized. We are organized at three levels within the group. Of course, starting at the top level, the group team, which is quite lean organization, then a regional and a local team. Of course, the local are the biggest teams attached to the ground and supporting the operations. They implement and test these controls. The regions coordinate the implementation support, issue tracking, and also bring in these specific, complexities or diversities coming from the region itself. It could be a growth region or it could be a very mature market. So you have different complexities in different processes. Credit risk may be more exposed in developing market, whereas not as much in the developed markets. So these dimensions then are reflected by the regional teams, how and which controls to be emphasized more from risk perspective in the local operations. We define our processes, what we call the internal control management cycle. It's like an annual plan and we adjust it every year based on the learnings from past year. We try to keep it adaptive and agile. Like we said, we recently added sustainability to our framework because that's what we go to the market as our USP, that this is a differentiator for us. And how would that not reflect in the process or controls we put in place, to achieve those objectives. Process-wise, how we are set up is we have centrally defined controls, and these are locally implemented and tested. So there is always a link to the central framework. So we call it a hybrid way of implementation. So the objectives or control framework is centrally defined, and then the local organization entities in each countries would pick them up, localize, and then it would be tested at the local level. Technology to support this implementation. We have SAP GRC, like I just mentioned. We have a single instance across the group that spans across all our 70 countries and multiple sites and supports through all the business lines that we operate in. Couple of slides to build the context more about the SAP GRC itself before I dive into the challenges aspect. We had a business objective to standardize internal control implementation coming from the integration of two large groups. And what better way than to implement these, through a unified tool that will enable us. So we had different solutions, different, ways of implementation across ex-Lafarge, ex-Holcim environment, which was then standardized by way of the SAP GRC process control. So that happened to be our solution coming in to support the business objective. Again, along with the merger, we had two different frameworks. So unifying the framework and then making sure that it was consistently applied. The new internal control framework should be understood across the group in the same manner. So there was a need for big training programs initially to be organized top down to make sure that people understand what is now the new management objective, what is meant by fulfilling this, how do you test these controls, and at different levels. An important aspect for this was also because the tool was new to the organization. There was also an element here which added to the complexity. How are we going to train 5,000 plus users globally who will be our control owners or approvers or business process owners, and also the exco of the countries who would like to see reports directly as how my country was doing before the group dives in and says, guys, you have a problem in this particular process. And of course, then, with a lot of localization that was happening previously, there were different systems being used. So we had to also make sure that we are in a sustainable cost environment, that we don't run multiple tools and solutions, and thereby add complexity and cost to the way we operate. So to shut down these legacy systems was the decision and have one single instance hosted on cloud to make it accessible globally for us. This picture is, a representation of how we were in the past and where we are today. So even SAP GRC process control, we had multiple instances, one hosted in each of the regions, which meant that I had to still extract reports from different systems and have then a group level consolidation. Though it made it easy that, they were regionally managed systems, so no cost at the corporate head office. But then it became too complex when the management wanted to have a situation or a report point in time to get this information even within SAP GRC. And of course, there were some countries we had acquired during the business or were new businesses being set up, and those were not, exposed to a internal control application. So they would just use, Google Documents or Microsoft Office solutions, sometimes even Excel sheet summarizing the results that would have to be consolidated at the group level. So that became, a no-go for us. And then that was a business case already. It paid off in the first year, investing in a single instance to be hosted and shutting down all these local solutions. So with that, we achieved faster and accurate reporting, which was, giving visibility top down to the organization as expected. Of course, this also set, the platform for our future automation. Now we could look at automation, which would be our next journey, or say 2.0, where we first standardize the framework, implement a tool solution, and then this is the basis for us to start or embark our next journey towards the automation aspect. Just talking in terms of some numbers, we have about 170 central controls in the system. This translates into 20,000 plus local controls in each organization, in each business segment, 380 local organizations, about 70, 75 businesses across country level, which we use for consolidation. But these 70 then branch out into multiple legal entities in the country itself. So that goes at a number of 380 plus. And then, of course, 5,500 plus users as we are on the platform today. Linking back, to our share of challenges, of course, at different times during the project, to how to have a unified methodology or what will be the assessment framework. All those were not as much big. We could overcome that through discussion with the stakeholders, have those alignments. But then over years, we have been constantly upgrading our framework as well. We would have new controls requested by the management to be added every year. We would have some controls to be adapted or changed, some attributes like, okay, this control is also leading to a fraud risk, or let's say a compliance risk. So I need to tag a different attribute. And this would mean a lot of data maintenance centrally to be done within the SAP GRC platform. Though during our implementation itself, we had visualized some need for changes. And of course, our partners, Riscomp, did provide us a solution. But then it was with some limitations that we saw it, that it would allow us to only update the existing objects or controls. I could not create new controls with this. I could easily roll out, local control, update the descriptions and other fields that were locally maintained through this utility. But that was with some limitations that I could not add central objects or, assign users to a particular control, change, mass assignments as we would like to do it centrally. So we are looking at the new solution that is already presented by Riscomp, and Maxim will talk a little bit more about this solution. So that's planned for update in our environment as well as we move also probably to version 12. We're currently on 10.1. So along with that, we will implement this solution as well. That would, ease out our pain of an annual maintenance or changes as we do it currently. Moving to challenge number 2 that I would like to, present and discuss, reporting needs. Typically talking of reports, different management perspective, different expectations, bring in different dimensions that they would like to see the reports in. Within GRC, it was a bit complex to, make these quick adjustments, even if you meant, layout or, changing the graphs or representing data differently. Also on the administrative sides, sometimes we had reorganization within the group. And let's say, some countries sitting on the fence, Middle East moved to Europe, or Europe moved to the responsibility of Middle East. And now I would like to reflect that in my reports. So even these small changes were quite difficult, to immediately do it on within the GRC itself, which had the standard based reports set up at the time of implementation. And that then became a complex thing for us. We did evaluate, different solutions which are available or which we could implement. What we implemented was, a click view dashboard as a front end, and then we would have table extractions from SAP GRC and then do the visualization aspect on ClickView. So this is already up and running now for us. So gives us, good confidence that we have, within our teams, just a small program change done within ClickView, and we can manage the report expectation as per the management needs and requirements. This also gives us, different ways to slice and dice the report, and some flexibility also to the end users, how and which view they would like to use it. So different views are available to them, and they could look at the way they would like to analyze the information. Group needs are very different from how regions like to see it versus how a local, country would like to see it. Local country would like to see more deficiencies and what are overdues and things like that, versus group view would be, more risk driven. If 20 controls are failing, which risk I'm exposed to. So that's their interest, that what risk is not fully mitigated because of control deficiencies. Last one, and a very complex one, and that ties back to the poll we just answered, usability. So when we were looking at the platform, this was key to us, that we can never train 5,000 users across the group and make sure that every time there was a change, that there would be a need for another refresher training for the new control owners or new users that would come in even in the internal control teams. So this would, make or break the big implementation. If it were not user friendly and not easily embraced by the business, they will just put it aside as a very complex tool and give them a reason not to utilize it. And that would derail completely all our efforts in terms of, central instance and, a common framework and everything, and go back to where we were initially, either on an Excel sheet or different local solutions each country would emphasize. So what we worked out was, two very, winning formulas, what we saw, and that really helped us to embrace this very quickly with the very minimal training. Yes, there were trainings, but not to the extent, we would have budgeted for 5,000 people across the globe. What we implemented was, a custom entry page layout, and there's a small screenshot that differentiates it from an otherwise, NWBC menu. We also heard this morning from SAP, and I was quite excited to look at how Fury would look now with the launch pad. So that could be another vision for us to now start evaluating to much improve what we have, like, the menu driven paths, much simplified with hyperlinks. All the text in blue is directly a hyperlink and it opens up in a window. So much simplified. This is the most complex, what you see on the screen here. And this is for the internal control managers. So if I were just a control owner, it would just be a couple of links. So it's quite difficult for me to get lost within SAP GRC, I would say. And that would just drive me to stay where I would like to and what information is relevant for me. So that made the tool very user friendly for people who would still love to go into the tool and execute it. But as well, we had the solution of Adobe Interactive Forms by SAP. So we had that implemented as well. And the challenge we faced there was no standard at that point of time integration available with Google messaging. So our global messaging platform is Google, and there was no standard interface to use the submit button. For those who know this Adobe Interactive Form, this wouldn't work. So we had to create a custom development, again with the support of our implementation partners, Riscomp, to develop this and test extensively. We had to change a little bit of behavior, tweak it, and then we could still meet, the use of Adobe Interactive Forms within our Google platform. So these, really helped us in terms of usable solution. So of these 5,500 users, because of the good integration with the Adobe Interactive Forms, now our users do not go to the tool and they simply work through the email. They have this PDF form. They would just complete the form, submit it, and their task is done. So that made it very good adaption rate for us. And as we speak today, we have all the assessments and testing 100% captured, through the tool itself. Nothing is coming anymore outside in an Excel sheet or that I have to factor in and therefore, influence my reports differently. This is all, I have to speak about, and then maybe I now invite Maxim to share some of his views and his ideas around these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. I would like to demo and provide a little bit more details on core challenges and solutions mentioned by Siddharth. Let me just briefly recap what he touched on. Keeping the framework up to date, responsibilities as well, maximizing the usability, and also having the well-established reporting. What has started 3 years ago as custom development for LafargeHolcim is meanwhile a mature add-on used by quite a number of large multinational entities. And this fits perfectly well into this hybrid approach adopted by LafargeHolcim, just as by the majority of our customers. We'll share you details on both aspects. And from the usability perspective, as mentioned by Siddharth, you know that in release 12, there is a new way to enter the application. This is Fiori Launchpad. There are also quite a few native Fiori apps to be used. However, in our practice, some customers still look into leveraging actually both ways of working, taking advantage of having the new look and feel in Fiori at the same time, being able to use advantages of entry pages. So let me jump into our demo system. So I'm logged in as Risk and Internal Controls Officer. And this is what Siddharth was referring to, naming this as entry page. So everything I need is located here in one screen. UI is comprised out of individual elements called tiles. I can move them, I can close them. It is also quite easy to prioritize what is more frequently used and what is less frequently used. And more frequently used elements are even possible of being placed as like open tiles. So here you see my processes overview, where myself as, again, Risk and Internal Controls Officer, able to access to, and I am in charge, as you see, of technical measures, securing SAP infrastructure, and I'm also in charge of GDPR related part of the framework within my organization, which is business line ABC, and deals with data breach notification compliance. So let me open up one control, and there you will see what is meant by the hybrid approach. You see on the screen that there is a central control description, which is coming from central catalog. I see that there is some corporate standards of technology, usage of SAP unified connectivity. And what I would like to do now is to describe how this application is used within my part of organization. And well, I can do it basically here, but imagine if I had to update thousands of controls, and which is in a global organization, even with well established cascading of master data maintenance is still quite an effort. So what you see here within ICS and risk management framework maintenance part are two hyperlinks. There are two tools as a part of Riscomp add-on. The one called Framework Update tool is designed in order to create new controls, update existing controls, and Responsibilities Update tool, as you can imagine, is designed in order to keep responsibilities up to date. More than that, it also allows to monitor for inconsistencies in user assignment, and also ensures that the work items are transferred upon replacement of users. So let me open the framework update tool. The principle is very simple. This is a self-service within my authorizations. I'm able to pick the organization, data privacy org, business line ABC, and I would like to generate template and also see what kind of central controls did become available in the organization. So I run it, and what you see here is this template view. On the master data, you have blue sections, which have information purposes. There are also fields allowing to create new controls or take over controls from central catalog. You see that the multiple compliance framework is utilized. Some controls are relevant for more than one regulation, such as ISO, ICS, GDPR. And I would like to update this control. On top of this, I would like also to extend risk assignments on the control level. And what I also would like to do is to take over new control from central catalog. So I save the template. Go to the tool, changed to the update mode. Pick the template. First, I have the chance to run it in a simulation mode to check if everything is okay. And as you see, system has identified that there are some mandatory fields not filled. Therefore, I need to get back and fix the template. Otherwise, I can filter by messages here. I see what kind of updates are going to be successful. I can also filter on errors only. And here, with a higher degree of assurance, I'll be able to update my framework. So in a similar way, if I need to check the responsibilities assigned in my organization, also make sure that roles are maintained and assigned and inconsistencies are detected. In the same way, as a self-service principle, I'm able to generate template for role assignments for this organization. And what I see here is that this is quite an initial stage. I still need to assign a couple of more users. I'm also able to check consistency of assignments. You know that this is sometimes the case that the technical user maintenance and assignments in front end are not always aligned between each other, and also this kind of consistency check allows to detect locked users or invalid or even deleted users with still existing assignments in front end. So I'm changing to the upload mode. While staying in simulation mode, run this, and I see that I'm not able to maintain for authorization reasons users on the level org. However, I'm pretty much able to cascade down everything which is on the level of processes, subprocesses, or controls. So that's in the nutshell the Riscomp update tool functionality, meanwhile available again as add-on and successfully used by quite a number of large multinational companies. Having said that, I think it is time to attend questions of participants. Michael, feel free to moderate if there are any.
Well, first of all, thanks for your presentation and for your demo. I see actually two people have, actually more have asked questions already. If you also have questions, please go to the chat and feel free to type them in. First one is from Niraj. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I think it goes to Siddharth. The question is, have you experienced any performance issue when migrating your GRC system from local to central instance?
No, we did not experience, performance issues per se, anything. So no issues with that.
Okay. And then we have another question from the same person asking or stating, there is already a standard role for the entry page for internal control manager provided by SAP. Then what you made, you go for customizing your own page.
Mm-hmm. There was, many reports, for example, we would not set up. And then, if I have the standard one used, it would be a hyperlink that doesn't work or is not correctly set up. So when we customize, we only let, for example, the reports, what were relevant for them and what were correctly working according to our customizations. And likewise, the other menus, for example, local internal control managers, we do not allow them to manage role assignment at organization. They can do only below at the control level. Organization roles are managed centrally by the support team or by the group team. So all these customizations were then set up in these specific entry pages that you will only have access to menus that are relevant for you. Nothing that you would not use would be on the list there.
Siddharth, if I may also comment on the technical aspects. Yes, SAP provides a couple of standard entry page based roles and tiles. However, to fully offer the required functionality, the design was to complement existing UI from SAP side, but not replace. Elements such as delegation or open tiles for my processes or for work inbox are not part of the standard. Therefore, what you have seen is a mixture basically of standard tiles and custom tiles.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And so, Niraj, feel free to ask follow-up questions, but I think that should answer both of your questions. And I have another question from Mark, who's asking, have you considered using the Fiori UI instead of a customized solution tool teammate to your GRC solution?
No, we do not have any interface feeding in from the tools. But what we do is we have an option created within GRC, what we call ad hoc issues. So even not waiting for management to test or audit to tell, if I know of an issue, the internal control team is able to log in. Let's say audit issued a report and they had 2 or 3 findings in a country which indicate weak internal control or inadequate internal control. So then the internal control manager would add those 3 issues for local tracking within SAP GRC itself. So we have a comprehensive issue library within SAP GRC that way. But the integration is not online, it's an offline that I would create an issue linked to this finding from internal audit.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And I think that's all that we have for questions. We're also slightly over time. So let me thank you again, both of you. Very interesting presentation, as you can tell also from the questions. So I hope it, I'm sure it met the expectation from the audience and gave some valuable insights. So we take a quick break. The program continues at the hour, so at 3 o'clock Central European Time. At that time, you can actually choose between 3 different partner demos and Q&As, so interactive sessions. You can first off hear more from Riscomp and Maxim, who will present on boosting the efficiency and usability of GRC. That's one choice at 3 o'clock. The other choice, the second choice, is Turnkey Consulting, who will present on improving control automation through process control and business integrity screening integration between those two, and that's going to be Valentin Chapny. And then the third choice is going to be Deloitte, who will present on turn detection into prevention by applying robotic process automation to continuous control monitoring. And the presenter will be Jose Ruiz. So I hope that's an interesting choice for you at 3 o'clock. And then we will be back with here in the main plenary with the next customer presentation from British Telecom at 4 o'clock, so in a little over an hour here, Central European time. Thank you very much again for attending this session, and hopefully see you later. Bye now.
Bye-bye.